Voices of Protest, published in 1982 by historian Alan Brinkley, is a non-fiction work that explores the populist ideologies of two influential and controversial figures in early 20th century America, Louisiana Governor Huey Long and Catholic radio host Father Charles Coughlin. Brinkley focuses primarily on their rise to prominence during the years 1934 and 1935. The book earned Brinkley the National Book Award for History. By 1934, although Long had left the governor's office to serve as a U.S. Senator from Louisiana, he continued to wield considerable influence in state politics through his successor, Governor Oscar K. Allen, and loyal allies in the Louisiana legislature. Despite lacking formal authority, Long remained active in drafting and advocating laws, maintaining his characteristic flamboyant and unconventional political style. In Washington, Long distinguished himself as one of the few left-wing figures to oppose President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal, which aimed to revive the economy in the aftermath of the Great Depression and prevent future financial crises. While Long supported the concept of federal intervention, he criticized Roosevelt for not going far enough in redistributing wealth across the nation. In response, Long introduced his Share Our Wealth plan during a February 1934 radio address. His proposal sought to limit personal fortunes to $50 million and cap annual incomes at $1 million, with inheritance limits set at $5 million. Any surplus wealth would be redistributed by the federal government, providing households with one-time $5,000 grants and guaranteed annual incomes of $2,000, $3,000 for those earning less. The plan also promised free college tuition, federal support for farmers, pensions for veterans and the elderly, and a 30-hour work week. Long's radio address was infused with his signature populist and almost religious rhetoric, which resonated deeply with his followers. At the same time, Huey Long distanced himself from Franklin D. Roosevelt. Father Charles Coughlin's support for the president and the New Deal also began to falter. Though Coughlin had initially backed Roosevelt with the slogan, "Roosevelt or Ruin," he soon grew disillusioned, viewing the New Deal as too aligned with capitalist interests. In response, Coughlin founded the National Union for Social Justice, advocating for the nationalization of key industries and institutions such as banking, utilities, oil, and the Federal Reserve. His ideas reached a massive radio audience of 40 million, the largest in the world at the time. According to Brinkley, the growing influence of Long and Coughlin alarmed Roosevelt and his advisors, prompting the president to shift further left in his economic reforms. This pressure contributed to the adoption of the Second New Deal, which introduced landmark legislation like the Social Security Act and the National Labor Relations Act. Despite these fears, neither Long nor Coughlin would ultimately derail Roosevelt's presidency. Long was assassinated in 1935 by the son-in-law of a political adversary, cutting short his political ambitions. Coughlin, who had intended to support Long in a 1936 presidential challenge against Roosevelt, struggled to find another candidate capable of mounting a serious threat. After Roosevelt's re-election, Coughlin's populist message turned increasingly extremist and hateful. While his rhetoric had always included veiled anti-Semitic undertones, particularly in his attacks on international bankers, his anti-Jewish views became more explicit, especially after Hitler's rise to power in Europe. Though Long is remembered for his flamboyant political style and Coughlin for his anti-Semitic and pro-Hitler rhetoric, Brinkley argues that both men, at their peak, expressed genuine populist sentiments that significantly influenced Roosevelt's policies. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you.